In this episode, we're going to tear down stereotypes and digging into the real story behind martial arts, identity, and resilience. We're talking with Mama G. She's a fighter shaped by her past, her upbringing, her environment, her traditions, and just pure grit that she's found in life. From surviving bad things in her life that has happened to her to making the most out of them. We're going to talk through some untruths about history and culture. She's lived it all. We don't just celebrate her wins, we're going to unpack hard truths about life and those battles that most of us never see, and what it really means to fight for your story. Stay sharp. This one's deeper than you think. Mama G,
Yes.
what's happening?
What's happening? Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Oh, it's an honor and a privilege and a pleasure.
How
it
long
really is.
How long have I known you? About a decade now. You were
about a decade.
you were on my
Yes.
black belt test
Yeah,
board.
on your sit there and you were probably saying that lady doesn't have a gi on. Why doesn't she have a gi on?
It was different.
It was different.
But I'd met you
Yes.
before then
Yes.
at a couple of tournaments,
Right.
and gotten to know you and
Mm-hmm.
your hijinks.
Yes. Yes.
How are you?
I am so blessed.
Good.
I am grateful that for 50 years now, I've been a part of and if I use different terms and you need me to explain something,
Got you.
please just let me know.
Got you. Well, this audience isn't really martial artists.
Okay.
Probably some, because I talk about it a
Okay.
lot because it's who I am, but
Okay.
it's not for martial artists. It's just for
Okay.
humans of Earth
Okay.
that
Well,
want to try to be better people than they were yesterday.
okay.
That's
Well,
kind of
let's see. One of the areas that I have been blessed to fall into deeply is urban anthropology.
Yes.
And we talk about that a lot.
Yes.
And that's the backstory
Yes.
of what history or however people want to call it. And it's been through the martial, I'll say sciences. I'm going to say martial sciences, and we can get to that in a little bit as opposed to martial arts. There's a reason everything manifested itself.
Okay.
So the urban anthropology is when people started documenting probably the crazy things that they did throughout the world. And martial sciences, as opposed to martial arts, is the combat portion of it.
You taught me that.
Yeah.
You taught me that. You were the first person that I'd heard that from, and I thought that was...
Thank you.
Honestly, I'm not saying it because you're here. It kind of changed my entire view of martial arts.
Yeah. Yeah. We have historically, until people started having communication like the social media.
Yeah, we were just talking about
we all kind of lived in our own little areas. And then we discovered boats. And we started going from continent to continent.
Right.
And that's when people started falling in love with each other. And look, Mom, I'm marrying somebody who lives 2,000 miles from here, you know.
That's a long trip.
That's a long trip, you know.
Yeah.
And I believe that's what has been when you combine the cultures. A lot of people say I'm black or I'm white or whatever. No, I've been blessed to travel, and other places don't say I'm black, I'm white,
really,
I'm green.
Yeah.
No, they say I'm Nigerian or I'm French or I'm Swiss, or there's no color connected with it. And a lot of people in the I'll kind of say a little bit about myself. I was born in Jerusalem. My father's Ethiopian Hebrew. My mom was Creole. I went to a Catholic school and I taught Islamic school. I'm really there's a lot going on up here. Yeah, which gave me the opportunity to read a lot of the spiritual books.
Right.
And a lot of them say basically the same thing, but one I found very interesting, you can find it in Genesis. It says the sons of God made it with the daughters of man.
Mm.
Ooh.
Mm.
Ooh. Oh.
Okay.
Okay. And that's where the giants of old came from. And I'm like, the sons of God. Who were they? Could they have been made with the daughters of man? Okay.
Right.
So I look for things like that. It's pretty easy. It was very clear.
It's right there.
It's right there.
Do you feel like that gave you an ability to sort of look at all that stuff without sort of the parental pressure to be a certain thing and a certain way?
Yeah.
Because I certainly felt that growing up. Like it was the lens I looked at the world was through the lens my parents taught me.
No,
which I guess is what we do.
I was so blessed. My God rest the answer, my grandmother, who she was 102 and she decided, yeah, she was like, I got to get out of this place, right? You know, she said, I'm tired now, but she raised me and raised even my sons. You know, they went to her and she was just as mixed in the mind as
wow.
That's why I am the way I am. You know,
I think you're pretty right. I don't think you're mixed. I think you got some stuff figured out.
Yeah, and I had I had sisters at St. Joseph for 12 years.
Wow.
12, the same school, and they were about get the backstory.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we had our 50th reunion a couple years ago and laughed about a whole lot of things. Our senior prom, you had to bring a telephone book.
What?
You brought a Yellow Pages book. Yes. And the young man could sit in the chair and you put the telephone book on his lap and then you could sit on his lap. You know, can I tell you stories? Now you get, so you kind of see what
Is that Catholic school?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's funny.
Oh, yeah. And so it was all girls. It was like a Harry Potter girls' school.
So you're Jewish.
Yes.
How do you wind up at Catholic school?
Because my mom worked for Gotti and not the rapper.
Oh, okay. You just went to where? Okay.
Gotti. You know the Gotti.
I remember.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we got to get your daughter in the best school. And
there you go.
There it was. And there I went. And it was just us.
I love the way you taught, because you came and taught a class with mine a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago.
Right.
And I love the way you approached it with history.
Okay.
So you were teaching them about self-preservation and you used a chessboard.
A chessboard. Right.
I love that approach.
Right.
Is that just how you do everything?
That's how I do everything. Strategy.
Okay.
Because your best fighters or combat people, however you look at it, deal with self-preservation. They're in boxing. You have pugilists or tacticians. And for those who aren't familiar, a pugilist will stand there and let you punch him and punch him and punch him. A tactician, let me move. That's self-preservation. Let me not get hit too much.
Right.
Muhammad Ali was a tactician. Mike Tyson is a pugilist. So
I think he inflicts more than he takes, but
now. But they'll walk up on you.
Right.
So we look at self-defense. Self-defense means the person has already touched you or the thing has already got you. Or in the chess thing strategy, you made the wrong move. But self-preservation means that you perceive it before it's going to happen. There's several census people throughout my life who don't like me. because I don't open the door.
You said that. I thought it was funny.
Yeah, I'm
Don't
not
open the door
opening
for
the door.
census people.
If I don't know you, I'm
Right.
not opening the
Right.
door.
Right.
And that's self-preservation.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll go to jail. I said, well, I guess I'll have to go to jail because I'm not opening the door.
Right.
And being, if I can say this now, being 72 years old, I'm working on a T-shirt, and it's gonna say, "Be advised, this 72-year-old is not concerned with life without parole."
Right. Right.
In regard to violence.
I don't have much left.
I don't have
do what
much
you want.
left, so do what you want, and then we'll we'll go from there. And so I think about that.
Right.
I am given X amount of time, and I'm not going to waste it. So
That's a unique perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So do you mind, would you mind just telling your story a little bit?
Okay.
I'm holding and I'll set it up. I'm holding your handout that I kept. I didn't give anybody one, but
right.
It's the self-preservation introduction. So it kind of talks about
yes,
why you even care about that world.
Why? Why?
Yeah.
I was, as I said, even though my grandmother raised, she was a brilliant woman, brilliant. But as young people, we're hard-headed. Mm-hmm. We're going to do what we're going to do, and then you run back home. Oh gosh, I can't believe it.
I have 2 sons under the age of 25.
Right, and that's what happens.
They know way more than me.
Right. And the school I went to, I was clueless. By the time I got out, didn't really know anything about the world. I went to an Ivy League school, got scholarship because back in the late 60s, early 70s, was affirmative action, which is no longer now. And the Ivy League schools were looking for young people of color.
Sure.
Hey, yeah, come here. We'll give you free tuition. We'll give you a place to stay. But we're not going to tell you about life. That's your problem. And I hadn't really interacted with gender men, boys. I had historically back then was the Black Panther movement. So I got, I'm going to get me a gangster. And I brought one home, and he was 35. I was only 20 out of college.
That's a big difference.
And I was clueless. My grandmother just started laughing, but I wasn't going to listen. I'm going to marry this man, And he turned out to be a wicked individual, very mean, drug user, alcohol. But I think what it is that I was clueless. I say that 1,000 times. My mother was very well off. She bought us a house, and he locked me in that house for the next 2 years. He would beat the crap out of me. I had 2 children,
With him?
With him. Yeah. Didn't know about sex, but he had his women of the hour that he dealt with. And it's amazing, even in the movie, what was that? Independence Day. I think that was one of the things they were trying to bring across. It's not what you do that makes you, it's who you are that makes you. In other words, she was a stripper who saved the president's
I remember that
wife.
Yeah. I was like, where are we going with Independence Day?
Right. Yeah. Right. So
that's right.
Right. And the other people had their backstories.
That's right.
So there was a young lady of the night that told me one time, you need to get the heck out of here.
Oh, wow.
You should not put up with this anymore. Please. And I couldn't understand why she was saying this. She said, you're more than this. Well, I guess he would have reached a point where he got tired of me, and one day he decided it was my time to step over, and he took a iron pipe and my back. A lot of people say my back, it was broken, and he locked the door, broke the key, and left me to die. And medically, when blood comes out your eyes and your ears, you're going, you're leaving. I tied my children in the playpen, put something over top so they couldn't crawl out.
Mm-hmm.
And then I walked 7 blocks to the hospital.
Wow.
Philadelphia, ain't nobody going to stop when they see I look like a zombie going down the street. Long story short, made it to the hospital. I have asthma, so I got the same nurse and gave him the address to where my kids. 6 weeks later, I'm back with my grandmother.
Mm.
And she's like, okay, I hope you learned your. Yes.
Like I promise.
I promise.
Yeah.
I won't do that anymore.
Mm.
So skipping ahead, he wasn't going to let me just skip away.
Mm. That's usually how that works.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he, I was coming home from work and he was waiting on the corner and I started running.
Mm.
I got to the house. I opened the door, I slammed the door. I told my grandmother, call the cops, right? He's coming. And she's like, step away from the door. And I'm like, no, you don't understand. And she's like, step away from the door. I said, okay. I grabbed the kids and we moved. Bust the door in. My grandmother had a chainsaw.
That's different people.
Yeah. I was like, oh, he was screaming and she was swinging and he took off.
Yeah, I bet.
And she said, now you got to learn self-preservation.
Mm.
Now you have to learn to protect yourself and your children.
Wow.
I said, okay.
Okay. Can I handle a chainsaw?
I can't handle a chainsaw. And I went to a women's shelter.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I lost the roommate I had there. She was still in love with him and she wasn't. So I said, I can't die. I have children. Yeah. And I said, I need to find people who will teach me.
Mm.
And I have a car then. I was living on the streets with 2 kids. And I'm walking down the street and here's this North Philly thug walking down the street. And he was a thug. And Basil, well, yeah, Basil, I'm going to say your name. Was a thug. You didn't mess with him, right? And he said, what's wrong with you? Because I'm standing there crying, going to, he said, what's wrong? Oh, he's trying to kill me. Come with me. And he took me to the Vida Saana African Martial Arts Institute, a little North Philadelphia building, in the down in the hood. And I walked in.
Wow.
And I was like, what? And you had Wanzo and he was another thug. He said, what do you want? What is it you want? I said, I want to learn how to kill people.
Shit.
And he was like, kill? I said, I got a problem and I got to kill it. And he said, okay, we'll teach you what you need to know.
Okay.
So by that time, I got a little apartment in the basement. I felt pretty good. I was learning. Had no idea they were watching over me. Mm. Jamal, they were watching. Mm-hmm. And once more, the evil showed up. I was coming home and I was ready to fight. I didn't know what I was doing, but I was ready.
Got some training.
I got some training. And they jumped out from behind trees and Wanzo and all, and cars and bushes. And they grabbed him and they laid him on the ground. And they put his leg up one high. And they stepped right on his knee. And you could hear it crack. Mm. And Wanzo said very calmly, he said, now that'll be your neck if you ever even think of this woman again. I was like, oh.
Gotcha.
And never saw him again. Never.
Yeah, no kidding. Never
again.
Wow.
Then I really got to training.
Yeah.
My name changed. I became Walimu Jumala Maisha. Mm-hmm. A lot of people still don't know me as Mama G because they only know Jamala. Mm-hmm. And I got to compete. Now, because I'm one of those academic people. I got to reading. I said, what is this? Why this fighting?
Yeah.
You know, where do you take it? And the first major competition that I went to was in Philadelphia. They had, before headgear,
Right.
hand gear, feet gear. You put tissue in your mouth.
Wow. Just to protect your gums and
To
teeth.
protect your
Yeah.
gums and teeth. No mouthpieces. That was it. And you fought.
Mm.
And you fought until somebody was laying there. I was the only woman in Vita Sana to ever pass their 4-day test.
Wow.
It kind of, because it was all men.
Right.
It was just men.
So you were the first woman to come through that system.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And learn and get my derriere beat.
I didn't know Mwanzo really at all. I spent a couple of hours with him at an event here, but I can imagine he wouldn't take it easy on you.
Not
just because
at all.
you're a woman.
Not at all. He would.
I didn't get that vibe from him.
Right. If you didn't move, you got hit.
Yeah.
And then I got into the weapons, and I said, "This is cool, and I can do this, and I can learn." Then they would do things like, you know how you play dice and stuff. Well, back in the day, in the 70s and early 80s, schools would, like, what is that movie called? Oh my goodness! They would come in and, we're here to fight your school. Karate Kid or one of them movies.
They all do it in all the Karate, like Karate
Right.
Kid, they always have beef with each other.
Beef, right.
They called it dojo storming.
There it is.
Yeah.
Well, people would come to Vita Sana.
Why would you do that?
Right, they would, all over everywhere, and they would put me on the floor. Here, put $20 down. People would bet on me. And I was good at what I did, and I would win, and I would get 50% of what I had to feed my kids, you know. And then I just start fighting only men.
Wow,
that was it. It was like dice. Yeah,
that is crazy. What is Vita Sana?
Okay, Vita Sana was the first well-known African martial arts system.
Okay.
You also have Kalindi Iyi, who had Tamarian martial arts.
Okay.
That was in another city. There were about maybe 4 or 5 schools, because the cultural history of Africa had come in. And of course, we started wearing nothing but the African clothes.
This was during the 70s?
Late 70s, early
Okay.
80s. It
Okay.
was really out there. So what we're looking at is culture. And when culture came in, then the fighting systems came in.
Okay.
Nobody walked into Africa and took anybody out. Africans sold Africans. So if anybody's watching and they listening, everybody, if they won in a fight, they sold each other. That's just, and once they got them to the boat, that's when you have the concept of slavery.
Got you.
It's real easy that way. The movie, what is that? Woman King. I'm saying it, a joke. None of it was real. Not any of it. First of all, the Dahomey women were, you had men are polygamous. Well, Dahomey women were polyandrous. In other words, they had multiple husbands.
Right.
And one Monday, Wednesday, Friday, weekend. They were not virgins. But because you have the Christian,
Hollywood's not going to like that. Yeah.
No.
It's not going to sell well.
Some of the churches say, oh, no, we can't say that.
Right.
Well, why not?
It's history.
They're Native American tribes where the women have more than one husband.
I've read that. Okay.
So come on now.
Yeah, it's history.
It's history.
Why are we so afraid of our history?
Because of
I mean,
the religious aspect, I
okay.
believe.
Okay. Makes
Uh,
sense.
King James was something else.
Just guilt.
He just and well, I was born the same day as Henry VIII.
Mm-hmm.
So, and when Henry wanted to marry Anne and get rid of his other wife, the Pope said no, and Henry said, "Okay, I'll start my own religion," which was the Episcopalian
That's one way to do
religion.
it.
Right? So, and this is what happens.
Mm.
So, it depends on who's the person in charge, and by the time we get to, as I mentioned, that King James,
Mm-hmm.
He wrote his own Bible.
Right. Well.
That's the Bible that's handed out, but he was a businessman. And then if you go back in history, then you have the Romans. I love Julius, but you got hooked up with Cleopatra. And
You told that story.
Right.
That was fascinating the way you used that, though.
Yes. So sometimes will change history.
Yeah.
And so I look at the how can I put this? The martial arts as the cultural aspect. Martial science, again, I say that as the combat.
Right. Yeah, and it's very different.
Yeah.
It's very different. But so you have a unique perspective of that most, I'm just going to say it, most martial artists, a lot of your older teachers, masters, I hate that term, but they want you to believe that they sort of grew up and lived in this like in between world of like martial arts and fighting for my life.
Right.
We rarely do.
No, we rarely do. And there are two people. Peter Urban, I got to meet him. He gave me a certificate.
That's cool.
He just I spent a lot of time talking to him on the phone. He said, "Be a realist."
Right.
And he said, "No one's catching any bullets in their teeth." What was that show? Many Faces of Death.
Oh, right. I remember that.
Yes. And people would get up there and do some really dumb stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. And you'd be like, "No,
what are you doing?
What are you doing?"
Yeah.
And I watched a young really at a tournament lay down, had a cigarette in his mouth, and the guy, the teacher, whoever, came and he cut the cigarette, but he cut the kid's lips.
No.
Yes.
Why would you do that?
Yeah, and blood's everywhere.
Why would you do that?
And you're like panicked. I can't say the name of the person.
Sure.
But I have a video of somebody who poured gasoline on gonna break all these bricks with their and went up in flames because the rag was put the wrong way. He had it one way and should have gone to go down. Fire everywhere. They put him out with fire. Now, I have the video. I had never posted it because his wife was just an awesome and I was not going to embarrass that woman like that.
You're nice.
Yeah, no. But I show it to the students.
Yeah.
I said, "Now, y'all watch
Don't do this.
Don't do this." So this is what happens. We have to look at what's real and what won't work. People ask me, would I fight a man or big man or whatever? I said, no. I talk about what it was it was a police officer who knows me very well. Very big man. And he was asked, what if you had to fight Mama G? He said, "I'd shoot her."
You'd have to.
Like, okay, I got that one right, and he's right here at Columbia.
Yeah. That's funny.
So you handle your business as you handle it. So, but so is my life. Move forward. That's I did my teaching. I'm an urban anthropologist. I work with young people who haven't made the best decisions.
You do a lot of work with what's the
Yeah.
right word to use? People in trouble.
People in trouble. Yes, not the best decisions.
Yeah, right.
And that has been a calling from the Creator, from God, to do this because that's a legacy.
Yeah.
And
right.
they were the ones who started with the name Mama G. It used to be Mama OG.
Yeah.
I said, y'all need to drop the O. I won't get paid. I won't get my paycheck.
Right.
And the interesting thing is I would make it a point to talk about self-preservation and chess all the time. That's essential.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
We don't talk about it enough, I don't think.
No.
We use these, like, just have common sense, man. Whatever.
Right.
That simplifies it a little too much because I don't think it's that easy.
No, it's not. As I mentioned, I was blessed to travel all over the world because of the martial sciences, not martial arts per se, because I did more teaching and I coached our Army. And even in the Army, we have new young people. Sometimes you wonder. And one of the young people on our team, it was fireworks, July 4th. And he went out and got all these pyrotechnics and put them in his car.
Oh, God.
And he had been drinking. So
we got Army, drinking, explosives. Not the good mix.
We're in Germany. We're over there, and he goes off of a bridge, ends up upside down. Nothing blew up.
Luckily,
no. And the general shows up, and we're all there. He said, "Oh, I'm not messing with this kid. God has something for him to do, because I don't know what it is, but just get him out the car." Right?
That didn't kill him. Yeah.
I didn't kill him.
Yeah.
So you wonder. I tell the young people, if you are blessed to get through something,
learn from it, man.
Learn from it.
Holy moly.
And a lot of times our young people now with social media, they see these fighting things on. People don't realize it's like drugs. It's strictly like drugs. This is why we have so much gun situations. Sheriff Lott is an ally of mine.
Yep.
And I would not want his job. They couldn't pay me enough.
No.
They could not.
It's terrible. Are you comfortable talking about your Black Panther experience that you shared with us in class?
Sure.
Speaking of that self-preservation, I mean, you had an incident that got you in trouble.
Got me. Okay. That's the interesting thing about my life is everything has little sections.
Yes.
My life just doesn't go through. It's like, okay, that was episode 1. Here is episode 2, right? Well, this is like episode 10.
Okay.
And I didn't
mean to fast forward.
Right. And I moved a lot.
Yeah.
Took my children. We were in the great state of Texas.
That's right. That was in Texas.
Texas. Right. And I work with young people from the barrio, which very, very poor areas, Hispanic. And
where at in Texas would this be?
That was Lubbock.
Okay, Lubbock. Okay.
Lubbock.
Okay.
Yeah. Lubbock, Texas. I try not to say that word too often.
I was going to say, how did you wind up in Columbia, South Carolina? But you've been in Lubbock, Texas, so we don't need to explain anything else. I've been through there.
So we were there, and it was like a little outskirts youth center.
Okay.
And that's where they stuck me. They had no idea that I wasn't Caucasian when I moved there. Right?
You tricked them.
I tricked them. They were like, they saw the resume and stuff. Oh, she couldn't have gone here, and she couldn't have. No, oh my God, she's, hey, what's up? What's happening? Right. And it was more the Jewish thing. It was more the Jewish thing than the Black thing. Right. So we're in class one day, and one of the young ladies is pregnant, and this individual, because he was not a good police officer. Good police officers don't do this.
Right.
He was just a bad person.
Right.
And he comes in, I have a warrant for her arrest, and he slams her against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm like, snap.
Yeah, not happening.
I snapped. I did. Because I saw me against the wall.
Mm-hmm.
We're not doing this.
Mm-hmm.
So I went over, get off of her type thing.
And most of the time, correct me if I'm wrong with your experience, but we're talking about police officers, and I'm going to pick on them.
Yeah.
But usually those dudes have not trained anything at all ever, except for like 2 weeks pulling their gun.
You're right. And pick on innocent people who can't defend themselves.
What are you doing, man?
That's what that was. And she's pregnant. She was obviously pregnant. So when I threw him, he fell on the floor. So I've got all these kids, everybody's laughing. Now he's embarrassed. I'm like, y'all need to shut up, please. Wait, he jumps up and he goes for his firearm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, most people should know Mama G
pull
trained. That's one of my high points in my life, is learning how to stop a person from pulling a firearm.
Yeah.
If you're close enough for me to touch you, it's going to happen. So it was reflex. So I threw it across the room. I didn't even point it at the guy. Now everybody's screaming and yelling and laughing. And I said, sir, you need to call backup because this is not going the way that you want it to go. So he did. And 10 officers come running and run past me. Long story short, they're like, where is the big black guy because this is, he said, it was her. Now they're laughing. Kids are laughing. The cops are laughing. Everybody's laughing. So I, end up in handcuffs. They were nice. They didn't, I had to do 27 days. No phone call. I was in. I met a lot. I learned about the system.
And when was
the county? This was
the 80s?
No, 90s.
90s, okay.
90s, about 1991, 92.
Okay.
So now I'm in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a Panther. The charges come up from everywhere. Okay, she did this, she did that. Okay, whatever. But I was blessed to have, and God rest the ancestor, the Quakers. And I hang out with it. Yeah, I hang out at Restoration Unitarian Church.
Okay.
Hey to the Unitarians.
Yeah.
Right. And I hung out with them, and one of the ladies was a Quaker, a Unitarian, and they didn't have all we had back then were fax machines.
Right. We had no cell phones.
No cell phones, nothing. And she got everybody in Philadelphia to fax down stuff to Lubbock. They raised Cain, let me out, blah, blah, blah. And they did. They let me go.
Okay.
But they weren't finished with me. So, no. So do I have like 3 minutes? I can tell this in 3 minutes. Okay.
As much time as you want.
I went back to Philadelphia, and then they decided it was going to be a state charge. And then they decided it was going to be a federal charge. And it just kept moving.
Mm-hmm.
So I tell young people, be careful who you tell your business to.
Yeah.
Because guess who they sent to meet me? Take a guess. He was a CID agent. This guy came from out of nowhere. Oh, I want to go on a date with you. Come to find out. Yes.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, I'm single, been single long. I'll go on a date, no problem. And it went on for about maybe 2 months.
Huh.
Well, by the time when somebody is saying they love you and all like that, they're not asking questions.
Right.
That you you shouldn't be asking. I'm not going to tell you nothing. Now, you can tell me I'm beautiful. You can say that. But don't worry about what else I do. You're not asking the right stuff here, honey.
Yeah.
Long story short, I ended up with a federal charge.
Huh.
Had to go back to Texas. Quakers were right with me, blah, blah, blah. And guess who was sitting in the courtroom? The CID agent.
Oh, shit.
Yes. He was right there ready to testify.
Does that just flip your world upside down?
My attorney and I, he's a real cool young guy from Texas, real cool. We went, what the? And
you're like, I should have killed him.
I should, yeah. And when he came down off the stand, he went,
oh man.
I said, okay, all right, God has this. God has this. Well, I met some kind of way when I went back to Philly, his ex-wife. And she'd been trying to serve him with child support papers.
The CID agent?
Yes, forever.
This is a movie.
It is. And I hooked her up. I told her where he was. Yeah, and you can find him here. And she set him up and served. I think he owed like $40,000. It was some stupid amount of money.
He deserved it.
He did.
Yeah.
He really did. So, yes, I did go to federal prison. I went to, because you have an option. You can stay out during the when they do the appeal, or you can go in. I wasn't even in the computer when I got there. I was like, I ain't leaving. You're gonna keep me, because if I leave, you're going to
get me for leaving.
Yeah. Right. So during the appeal, which was about 11 months, I taught history. I taught dance. I mean, it was like a normal life. I mean, I miss my children. My youngest son came to see me, and all these women. This was, I'll say it, FPC Alderson, because I'm going to make another comment. These young, beautiful women. And he's like, who's that? Who's that? I said, we don't have names. We have numbers. He said, well, what's her number? What's her number? Can you get her number for me? You know?
Bro.
So really, Adrian, right? You know how, yeah. So, but he was 17.
Got you.
So, like, hey, you in a good place.
You don't want, nah, dude.
No, you don't want all this. So when I got my release and everybody's happy, and, I said to myself, I saw one of the lieutenants, and he said, you a pretty good teacher. Why don't you think about getting? I said, sir, I'm not staying here.
Yeah.
Not at all. And I did, believe it or not, I saw a couple young women years later who I told them, just hang in there.
That's cool.
Put your appeal in. Do what you have to do. And we're screaming, like that. So they're good things. The Creator does that. Long story short, if anybody knows FPC Alderson is where Martha Stewart.
Yep.
What's it? Later. And I want to know how she met Snoop Dogg.
I know.
I didn't get to meet Snoop Dogg. I
bet she's got some stories, though.
Oh, she's got stories.
I mean, not from that, but like her life.
Life.
It's not as simple as she makes it look like.
No. You go there. On. If they send you there, you have stories to tell.
Yeah.
That's that place.
Okay.
And Billie Holiday was there. And they had a picture of her. I said, oh, wow, you put a picture of her here?
That's tacky, fellas.
That's tacky, right?
That's tacky, fellas.
So you learn. And then when I came here, there was a young woman who came to the center. And she was there. She said, your mama, cool. Same place. That's so cool. A lot of people, you keep your legacy open. And they say, oh, how can you talk? Aren't you embarrassed? No.
It's a story.
It's a story. It's part of it, which is why the manuscript is coming, and I do write.
Cool.
You know, I'm not trying to be full of bravado,
Mm-hmm.
but it's my life. I'm 72. I live this.
Tell your story.
Yeah.
You're better for it. I mean, that's what
Absolutely.
makes it valuable. I mean, you're not. I mean, come on.
You know, I used to sneak wine in for my grandmother. She had to have a glass every day. And I drink wine.
Yeah.
And I was in a supermarket, and some people walked by and said, "Oh, that's alcohol. Mama G, you drink alcohol." I hear it's medicinal. I said, "No, it's alcohol.
I like it.
I like it. I teach your kids, don't I? I need it."
Yeah. Isn't it funny how it's like the ones who preach the most often carry the most sin?
Yeah.
And you're just like, what are you so uptight about?
Yeah.
But you don't know what they're doing.
You don't know, right. And you just kind of, that's why, and I'm going to go back to the martial science thing. You never know when your life story is going to inspire somebody else to keep going. That's why when I told the story of the Little Mermaid, the Little Mermaid, that's why I love Brothers Grimm. I hate Walt Disney because he made all life happy endings. It's not happy. Life is
Grimm
not.
fairy tales are not happy.
No. Brothers Grimm. Yeah. And the mermaid, she died. She jumped. She went to get the prince. He married somebody else. She went to jump back off the cliff. And she drowned. Why? Because she had legs. She gave up her fins. If he really wanted her, he would have took her with her fin. And they would have lived happily.
That's a much better story.
Yeah.
That is a much better parable than what we got from Disney.
Right.
Hands down.
And Pocahontas was a real person. They kidnapped her. They took her to London. She died of smallpox. She didn't run around with some flour. No, it didn't happen like that. You know, so we have to stop telling this make-believe thing.
Yes. That's
why, what was the Hellraiser, the movie Hellraiser. If anybody watches horror movies, it's this movie called Hellraiser. I've seen it, and the priest comes in, no offense to priests, okay? He comes in and he says, "I rebuke you, and you should be afraid of Jesus," and blah, blah, blah. And Pinhead is standing there, and he goes, "Really? Do I look like somebody who's scared of Jesus? Do I?" And
I do not, sir.
Right. And I thought about that.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, Freddy Krueger. I look at these movies have a message if you really dig into them. If you look at the person who writes them, there's a little bit in there that you can take away.
I think it was the same dude.
Same dude.
Hellraiser and Freddy Krueger.
Right.
Wes Craven, I think.
I think he wrote, right. Cool things. Yeah. So when I tell and I share my story, and I only share my story, I'm here because of you.
Thank you.
I don't share my story with everybody. Maybe somebody might like to know. What is it now? There was he was a Philadelphia police officer. And he used to say all the time, I like this man, if you pull your firearm, it better be smoking. He said, whatever decision you make your decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that. So, like I said, Brothers Grimm, Little Red Riding Hood, she died. The wolf ate her.
Killed everybody.
Yeah. Killed grandma.
Yeah. Don't trust the wolf, bro.
No, don't trust the wolf. So,
well, Mama G, thank you for your perspective.
Okay.
Thank you for your perspective. Honestly, it's refreshing.
Thank you.
And you've taught me over the years of just knowing you to look at things differently, to try to, that's one of the things I try to do because I've met you, is to try to look at something how someone else might be seeing it.
Right.
And I really wish we'd all do that.
I think a lot of times because of, okay, when television was television, okay, my grandmother had the black and white TV, and I would she'd let me watch Johnny Carson on Friday nights because I didn't have to go to school. And one night, Mae West was on Johnny Carson. And there was this other actress, and I mean, she had everything showing and all like that. And Mae West looked at her and said, "Honey, why are you just giving it away like that?" I was like, oh. The same thing with the lady who was in there's a movie, Sweet Charity, Situation, and all those musicals, all of them had it was another stripper told the young lady, hey, you gotta have a gimmick, honey. Don't just take your clothes. You gotta have a gimmick.
You gotta sell it.
You gotta sell it. And the girl, her gimmick, I forget the name of the stripper. She never took her clothes off. She would start and then she wouldn't finish. That was her gimmick. You have to kind of deal with life that way. Gypsy Rose Lee, that was her name.
Okay.
Yeah, that was her gimmick. And she made millions of dollars. And she would just stand behind the curtain.
I mean, learn from it.
You learn from it. But you have to deal with, if something doesn't work, let's try it another way then. That's all.
It's pretty simple.
It's real simple.
But
you can sit there and cry, and the way people are now.
Yeah, I know.
It's not going to happen.
No.
But how can I kind of close with something happy? Something fun. I look forward to going to martial arts competitions.
Okay.
I have more fun. And I think at one competition, I danced on stage.
I remember that.
Right.
Yes.
I danced. And one little boy who was in the audience, I didn't win, but he jumped up. She was fabulous. She's a great dancer. Why couldn't she win? And he couldn't. He was a itty bitty. He just could not understand.
Yeah.
Well, she's on the stage. She's doing. She was good at what she did. Why didn't she win?
Yeah.
And I said, baby, sometimes people are not expecting you to do something different other than what they're used to seeing. He's like, oh, okay, but you were great. I said, thank you. Yeah. Thank you very much.
I remember that. I was there.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And that's fun.
Yep.
You get to a certain point and then you just have fun.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having
your story.
me. Thank you very much.
Incredible.